Hello everyone and welcome to my slightly messy room and welcome back to our channel and our Facebook page. Wherever you are, make sure to subscribe, like, share, comment, all that good stuff. If you are here on YouTube, make sure to click the links in the description box below. Not only our magazine links, but our guests, Giselle's and Jessica's links, and of course our new business a la mode branding links. Woo-hoo. So make sure to check it. If you are here on Facebook, of course I'll be tagging their pages, and so you get to know about them a little bit more. So check those out. So before we dive into this video, I just wanted to give you just a little background of it. So Giselle, Jessica, and myself, we have started a new branding agency focusing on marketing and business, focusing on solo entrepreneurs, nonprofits, and real estate brokers. This idea came, originally for myself, and then I reached out to Giselle, and then she reached out to Jessica, and we sort of just, three of us came together. During these times, especially during our global pandemic and shelter in place, we're all freelancers, and we all realized we need to pivot our strategies, and we decided to come together, and we wanted to share our story, so that way, if you guys can get inspired by it, or if you have any questions of how we started a business during shelter in place, during a global pandemic, let us know in the comments below. But yeah, all that good stuff. So let's get into that video, and I'll see you guys around later. Bye. All right, welcome back everyone to our channel. And as you guys know, we have Giselle and Jessica here. We've been doing all of our meetings like this Zoom, but today we all have makeup on, so you guys are super lucky. So
we dressed up just for you.
We dressed up.
We look like this all the time. So I woke up. What are you talking about?
Oh my God. I wish I woke up like this. This saved me so much time. Okay, so Giselle, you want to introduce yourself to the audience?
Yeah, hi, I'm Giselle Martin. I'm a business strategist. I have a podcast called Relate and Elevate. I also, I'm coming on to 14 years of marriage and 3 kids. I live in the San Francisco Bay Area. I have clients. I do workshops for small business owners. And I really love to cook. Yes. And there's a lot of other things I do, like yoga and meditate every once in a while.
Exactly. If you guys want to see all that, of course, you guys know all their links will be in the description box below. All right, Jessica, introduce yourself, honey.
Well, hola, I'm Jessica Cañas, and I am a public relations professional. I also host a podcast called the Wine and Chisme Podcast, which really focuses on amplifying and elevating voices from the BIPOC community. And really, we drink wine. So, I mean, hello, it's the wine, we wine and we chisme and all of that. I have been in public relations for probably about 15 years. Mm-hmm. And I have really kind of worked for businesses as large and organizations as large as Super Bowl. I worked for the North Texas Super Bowl host committee in North Texas. Couldn't say Dallas because it was a whole area. In trouble. To small nonprofits, to small sports entities, in even nonprofits in youth development. So it's been pretty expansive, but really between this and between the podcast, it's really been where my focus has been. Hi. And I'm in San Diego, sorry.
Yeah. And you guys know who I am. My name is Nicole. So I'm the founder here of Epifania Magazine. But I also do a lot of things like this, starting a branding, marketing business. We do everything agency, a la mode branding. And that's what we're here to talk about. So let's dive into the past. Let's go back in time. I sent Giselle an email about this agency because you were actually one of the first people that came into my mind when I thought, I want to start something. I was trying to find someone that had like compliment skills. Giselle, when you got that email, what were you thinking? How was that process for you?
When I first got the email from you, I was like, oh, cool. Yay. This is what I've been wanting to do. Yeah. But in my mind, I was thinking of doing something similar like this, finding a group of other solo entrepreneurs and come together. I was thinking like more in the future down the line, and I was sitting maybe sometimes sulking in my quarantine pandemic life, like thinking about the lost contracts that I had and how am I gonna pivot and what am I gonna do to change in this new era we're living in. And then your email came and I'm like, sure, why not? I mean, what else am I doing now? Like,
Right?
Yeah. The time is now.
Yeah. That was sort of my thought process when I sent out the email was, oh, pandemic, we have to all pivot our business. But it's also like, you know, how are we, it's hard to always be just like a freelancer and you're always trying to find your own clients. It's sort of nice to bring a group together. So Jessica, when Giselle emailed you, what was your thought process like?
I think I was just on Giselle's podcast, right? Before she emailed me. Because Giselle and I had met in a couple of different ways. We met through a podcasting network, the Latina Podcasters Network, and we were on a happy hour together. And then we met through the We All Grow Latinas Amigas group. So it was, you know, through there, she had asked me to be on her podcast. And then after that, I think like the following week, I got an email from her saying, hey, so we're putting this thing together. And my first thing was, okay, so what do they want from me? Like, where can let me feel this out really quick. Because I'm not somebody who will just jump into anything, right? I need to know. So that's when I just responded to you guys and said, okay, I think that's exactly what I said. Well, what are you looking for? What are you looking for from me? Let's take time to talk. So that's kind of how it went.
Yeah. I'm so glad that you joined us because I think we all bring such different skills and also different energy, you know, like, so we tackle problems differently.
Well, let me just say, I was not the first choice. You guys already had somebody else who ended up having me. But they're not me. They wouldn't have brought the same energy. Let's be real.
Yeah.
Nobody will make you laugh and bring that like I can.
Yeah. We did have someone else, but they were smart enough to know, this is something I appreciate, that they left early on, but they knew that they just didn't have the energy or just didn't fit with their career path.
Yeah.
Which is
I met with them one time, I think.
Yeah. So I was like, that's smart. I'd rather you leave now than like 2 years later. You know what I mean? Or like you're in the thick of it. So, yeah. Okay. So you both in your intro said a gazillion and one things that else you do that take your time away. How is it bringing on a whole new business, right? Because we're starting a business from the ground up. So how was it incorporating this business into your other businesses and into your everyday life?
For me, it hasn't been, I think it's all about time management, right? I'm in a very fortunate position that I know not everybody is in, where I still have a job, but my project has been put on hold. So my 9-to-5 job as a project manager for a marketing company, they still pay me. They still, like, I'm still there, but my project has just been put on hold. But they haven't put me on hold. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So every once in a while I'll get a small project that doesn't take much time, but it's just giving me the opportunity and the time to be able to focus on something else. So right now my focus has really been between the podcast and this. And although I do have other people that I work with on my own with PR, I've been very, very selective in regards to who I'm working with and what projects I'm working with on that it doesn't take a significant amount of time. So it's really allowed me to have the time to be able to do this.
Yeah. Giselle?
Yeah, for me, it's I'm setting up my life to be able to manage different projects at one time and have multiple income streams at one time. So this came in at a time where, like, I was solely relying on myself and working on my podcast. And I was going to start doing other things already, but then they fell through. So this just really like completely just came in and fit into my goals, like the goals that I had already set up. But what's interesting about it is that this came also at a time where I have been going through a lot of things, like emotionally and spiritually also. So I feel like this came in at a time to help me like expand, like in every single way possible, like me in my career, me as just as a woman, as a mom, as a Latina. So it just kind of really is like helping me set up other things, because after I started really meeting with you, we had our meetings like regularly a few times a week, and then I had, you know, we all had projects that we were working on to create this. That created more structure in my life. I also was coming out of, the kids were finishing distance learning at home, and that added chaos to my life. So then that finished, like the school year ended, and then that's when we were like we started this as that was ending. So it just kind of like really just fit in, and then other opportunities started coming my way now too. So I feel like it just was really, really good foundation. Like it added another layer to the foundation that I had been building for myself and the direction I want to take my career. And the reason why I'm saying this is because it's really scary to just take on other things when there's so much uncertainty of everything in our whole lives. But to be honest, this brought a lot of structure and consistency and accountability and fulfillment to my life that I really like needed. Yeah.
Aw. We fulfilled her, Jessica. I'm like, that's what I got from it. Yeah, I know. One of the things
too, we fulfill you.
Yeah. So one of the things I want to echo, just like you said, is especially for me, I live by my calendar. So it was, again, easy for me also to incorporate this into my other businesses, because I knew we were going to meet, right? There's like accountability, because there's sometimes when you want to start something and it's very easy to maybe not be accountable, especially now during these times where everyone's working from home. Like, you know, it's just, or maybe some people are working, like they're not really working from home. So it was nice to have those like every day. Oh, yeah. Oh no, I thought you said something. I thought I heard like an airplane. Okay, but yeah, I think it's just nice that we met, like, or we're meeting 3 times a week. There we go.
But the cool thing is none of us have actually. Well, I don't know about you two, but I've actually never met either of you in person yet.
In person, yeah.
Yeah, no. I met Giselle in person multiple times.
Yeah.
I've been to her house. She's been to mine.
Yeah.
So,
okay, well, now I feel left out, so.
No. And I think, like, we could talk about that a little bit. Like, we've never met, like you said, Jessica, and also we've never worked together, right? And so it was, like, interesting to be like, oh, like, super happy it worked out the way it did. But it was sort of, like, I was a little, like, I don't know this person. Like, you know, like, it's, like, is it gonna work?
So, I agree with you, because at the beginning, I was very kind of trepidatious. I think you guys know that. You would ask me something, I'd be like, and I'm not somebody who's normally not like that, because I have an opinion, and you guys know that now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And as at first I was like, well, you know, I didn't feel like I wanted to step on anybody's toes, because you had already kind of started, right? Even though there wasn't a name, there wasn't any like real structure prior to, I still felt, but obviously I got very comfortable, and you guys know that I will voice my opinion. I definitely have an opinion, and But we've been able to, I think, like you said at the beginning, we all bring different strengths. And we've been able to work really well together within that, I think. And if there's been a disagreement, I'm an over like, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? Because I want to make sure we're all on the same page. And even if there is a difference of agreement, it's so important that we all agree to move forward, right?
Yeah.
So, so I know that when we're in meetings, I'm constantly like, Nicole, what do you think? Giselle, what do you think? 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 Because this is now our baby, right? This is our baby, all three of us, and we all need to be comfortable with changing the diaper.
Yeah.
Even if we don't want to.
Yeah.
And I'm more like, one of us changed the diaper and the other one takes the kid out. Like, you have our own rules. Anyways, so actually it leads me to my next question is, you all started businesses pre-COVID, and now we're starting a business during COVID. What has been some of the bigger differences for you guys? I mean, starting a business pre and starting a business during.
Well, not being able to do things in person is very difficult for me, but I think all of us, it's difficult for all of us. But also on the other side, I don't know if I would have ever met Jessica if we weren't in COVID, to be honest.
Yeah.
I don't know. Because I actually started I had been active in the We All Grow Amigas. I had been active, but I started going to them because I needed that more structure in my life that I didn't have after, everything shut down. So I appreciate it.
Yeah.
It happened during COVID, but then other times I'm like mad at it because I'm like, we could have just like rented or got an Airbnb for like a 3 or 4 day weekend and just like built a company in a weekend or something, or in 2 weekends or something, or got a vacation house somewhere for a whole week. And
I agree with the not, in person. I am like a super extroverted. I'm probably one of the most extroverted people anybody will ever meet. I'm like an extroverted extrovert. And so that was the hardest thing. I mean, prior to COVID, I had just started everything for the Wine and Chisme podcast. So I was having people in my home as I was recording the podcast and sharing wine with them and sharing stories with them. And although I talked to people all across the country and I know I would have used Zoom, it really shifted everything exclusively to Zoom. Which is really hard when I get my energy from being around people. And that's not even necessarily having to interact with people. It's just sometimes sitting at the beach being surrounded by people, right? It's going to a restaurant. Sundays was always a day that I spent by myself with my dog, but we go to a restaurant and there's a lot of people around. So that was really, really hard. And so starting the podcast pre-COVID, I was able to have like a launch party. I was able to go to different things, and then it just completely shifted. I agree with Giselle. I think it's been a blessing in a certain way in business because I've been able to really focus. Like, I had COVID not happen, me and Giselle may have not met, me and you may have not met. And this, I don't know, like, I probably wouldn't even be part of this company now. So COVID has kind of given, COVID has kind of given me a lot of new friends that I've met through these other organizations that I've really decided to become involved in. And that's also had the effect in regards to the podcast, because I've met people through all of those organizations that I've brought onto the podcast too. So it's definitely, for me, as crappy as this whole thing is, and there's a lot of social justice things that I think really needed brought up. And I think no other time would people have been paying attention except now.
Yeah.
So in that, and it's terrible. Like, everything that's happening, it sucks. It pisses me off because these are things that I've been talking about and that have been in my heart for a really, really long time.
Yeah.
But I think at the same time, like this moment needed to happen so this greater movement could happen, right?
Yeah.
And I think that has kind of been the biggest thing, is trying to work through when you're starting a business pre and like post COVID. It's really, you really have to figure out what are the things that are most important, because all of the social justice things that have happened, you have to decide, are those things that you want to include in your business? Those things that you want to have like as a core of who the business is. Those are you know, and that is indicative of who you work with as well. So those are things that I think maybe people wouldn't have thought of as much pre-COVID as now. We're not post-COVID, but during COVID. And I think that those are some things that, like I said, nobody would have thought of before, or maybe you would have a little bit, but now if you're starting a business, those are things you really have to think of, because people will make those decisions on if they're going to work with you on that alone.
Yeah. I think echoing both of what you have said, pre-COVID, it's nice to meet people in person, right? You get to read their energy a little bit better, because let's be honest, even though these are Zoom calls we're doing, it's still hard to read people's energy, right? We're constantly asking each other, like, wait, how are you feeling, right? Because we don't know exactly, like, wait, are you thinking, but are you mad? Like, what is it? What are your feelings? But when you're in person, you can read that a little bit better. I personally think during COVID, the two biggest differences is one of the differences is the positive. I personally feel like it really shipped me into shape in being smarter with my time, because I can't really go anywhere. So I gotta actually like get to work, because if I'm not, because in a weird way, if I'm not working, whether it's actual work or doing like self-care or reading a book, like trying to improve myself, then that can lead to you spiraling and just thinking about like all the negativity in the world, right? So I have to be mindful of that. But the negative, I guess, I don't know if it's a negative of working COVID, is because everything that's going on, like you said, Jessica, like all the social justice and all the wrongs in the world, and then just having to live shelter in place, and then there's people losing their jobs, people are changing their home dynamics, kids are at home more. I'm being more and more mindful in every meeting I'm going into of like, how are you mentally? Like, are you okay? And I feel like that's also a good reminder, even when we get through this, that we need to check in with people, even in professional settings, because you don't know what's going behind the laptop, you know? Like,
it's more than just how are you? It's like you said, like, how is everything going? Are are you in a good space right now? Like, just asking questions that go a little bit deeper. Because I think so often in a business setting, we don't think of those things. Yeah. And it's just really kind of, you just have to shift your mindset right now completely.
Yeah, because it used to be like, yes, I get it. Like, it used to be the old way of thinking is when you get to work, you like leave your personal life at the door. But I'm like, you can't do that. We're not robots. Everything's fluid, right? You're going to bring your personal stuff to work. You want to be professional enough where you're not like always bringing your personal stuff to work. There has to be a balance. But yeah, it's like now being more mindful and checking in with people, and checking in also with people, when I realized, not just our group, but other groups I work with, is everyone deals with their mental wellness differently. I have some people that need to work through it. Even if they're having a shitty day, they need to go through our meeting to feel better. While there's other people that just need to not be in the meeting to feel better. It's sort of accepting both, but like figuring out which system works better for people.
I know. Agreed. Absolutely.
Yeah. So we're getting down to the end. All right. I think we sort of discussed this a little bit throughout the whole conversation, but any tips for people out there that are thinking of starting a business during this time? Because a lot of people in this country and across the world, around the world, have lost their job. Or maybe they're using this time to be like, you know what? I can't rely on my job. I still have it. Can't rely on it. Got to start something. So what would be some tips for you? from you for those people?
So ultimately, I would say, whatever you decide to do, like right now, I think people have the benefit of really figuring out what they want, right?
Yeah.
Not just what's going to bring them money,
Yeah.
but what do they really want? Because right now you're home, and I think it's also, if you're not an entrepreneur, it's okay. Not everybody needs to be an entrepreneur. And I think there's been so much like, you need to hustle, No, not everybody needs to. That's like I honestly never thought I was an entrepreneur. Like I thought I had these grandiose visions, like, oh, I could be, but I don't know.
Yeah.
But when I found the thing that I really wanted to do, like with the podcast, I'm an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And with me, this dynamic that we have is good for me because if it was just me by myself, I would probably not do it, right? I would probably just do some stuff like I was doing. I was being very, very picky on the other side projects that I was doing. And guess what? That's okay too. Like, I think if you go through this and realize, if you're thinking about starting a business and you go through it and realize I'm not an entrepreneur and that's not what I want to do, that's cool. Like, that's fine. You don't have to do anything, because right now, if what's going to get you through is watching Disney Plus all day or whatever it is, and that's going to help you mentally just kind of survive this, then that's fine. There's no normal right now.
Yeah.
And so but if you go through and you decide, yes, I do want to be an entrepreneur. Yes, this is what I want to try. Then I would say start getting involved. There's so many virtual groups that you can get involved with. Start looking for groups that you feel in Facebook, there's a ton of groups. You have like Create and Cultivate, you have General Assembly, you have all of these different groups that you can literally just Google groups for whatever. And you can put groups for Latina entrepreneurs. You can put, groups for Black entrepreneurs. You can put groups for bead makers, and there will be a group for a bead maker, right?
Yeah.
But the key is just truly find those groups that are aligned with the things that you want to do. Because you might find a group, but it might be bead makers for white supremacists, and you might not be a white supremacist. Just saying. Like, are they going to align with your values?
Read the fine print, basically.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just using that as like an obvious example, right?
Yeah.
Groups that also align with your morals and values.
Yeah.
Feel like you're going to be able to get something out of. So that's why I would say you can start, because a lot of those groups, you have people that have been through the things that you want to go through and are willing and able and ready to impart information.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's also really important to take a look at what role that you want to play in whatever project or initiative or venture. Like, do you want to be the person leading it? Do you want to be the person supporting it? How do you want to support it? What kinds of daily activities do you want to be doing? Like, what fills your heart every single day? Because the most important thing when it comes to building something is consistency. It's not something that, let me just build a business during COVID and in a few months we'll see what happens, and then that's it, I'll go back to getting another job. When you're building something as an entrepreneur, it's about, I really, really like the plant analogy, because it really is like, what are you feeding the plant? Are you watering it? Are you putting it in a location where it's getting sun, or is it getting too much sun? Where it needs to be in a place where it's going to thrive. And so us as people, we also need to put ourselves in roles and with other people that are going to allow us and support us to thrive. And that's really what's important.
I love all those tips. Yeah, so I would echo that. I would definitely say figure out like if what you want to do, like we've all said, and if you want to do it. And also just giving yourself like grace if it doesn't work out. And then also my final thing is give yourself a deadline of when you're going to make that decision if you're going to start a business or not. Because one of the things I've noticed is so many people, it's that like whole like I'm going to write a book, and like every summer you say you're going to write a book, and cut to the end of your life you didn't write that book. So like is it an actual goal, or is it just sort of a dream, or what is it for you? And then give yourself that deadline. And by that deadline, if you aren't 100% sure, if you're not loving it, if it doesn't feel like another child of yours, then it's probably not meant for you. And then use that time to figure out like, okay, why was I trying to start a business? What void in my life am I trying to fill? Can I fill that void with like learning a new skill? Do I need to be closer to friends and family? What are you trying to fulfill?
On top of that, I would say this. If you really want to do it, you need to tell people. Right? Because you need to be like people, whether they agree or not, or whether they decide to or not, they're going to hold you accountable because they're going to ask you about it. They're going to say, oh, well, how is so-and-so going? When I was starting the podcast, I kept saying, oh, I'm going to start a podcast. And when I started it, I don't know how many people, and Giselle, I'm sure you were probably very similar, said, oh, wow, you really started it. I remember you talking about it.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I started it. But I think if you're that compelled, if you really feel that compelled that you want to start something, tell people, because first of all, that's holding yourself, starting to put accountability on yourself. But then other people will inadvertently hold you accountable because they're going to start asking you, oh, so how is that going? And the last thing you want to say is, eh. So if you're not sure, you don't have to say anything. But if you're like, no, I'm sure and I'm going to do this, start spreading the word.
Yeah.
I find that putting things on social media also makes me accountable, because then I'm like, I put it on the world, so it has to happen now.
It does. Okay. All right. So thank you so much, Jessica, Giselle, for being here, for chatting with me. I'm going to see you both very, very soon because we work together now. So we see each other at least 3 times a week. So all the information for our business will be in the description box below. Definitely check us out because we are all here to help you with your branding, marketing, and business needs. So thank you all for being here. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.